Okay, welcome to 117. I want to remind everybody first off to come to the YouTube recordings tab in my Laker link in Art 117, and you will actually find all of these courses, all of these class meetings recorded. You have to click on the one, to get to the YouTube link to play the class. But you can fast forward through all the boring stuff and get to the stuff you want to really see, or you can experience the class again to get the full impact of my genius that is coming out of my mouth like a fire hose towards your brain. So having said all that, I got one more person here in the classroom. Kelsey is here live in the classroom today. So I don't know if live in-person classes have been totally canceled as of today or not. It looks like most of the counties in Oregon are going to go back to extreme threat level as of Friday. And so I don't know what we're supposed to do. I think that I would like to go back to remote class learning for at least Friday and into next week, because the things that I can do today, let's see, why don't I actually pin this video to me so that you guys can see me. The things that I can do today and next week, I can do in a presentation like this. And the kinds of things that you guys need to do to get ready to build a life-size chair, you can also do at home in front of your computer and at your own personal desk at home. So having said all of that, let's launch into today's little video, shall we? Yes, let's. Okay. So you guys can take notes about this, or you can come back and look at the video later on and slow it down and stop it so that you can you can track the video to construct this drawing system as you go. But I just wanted to take a moment to talk about how you would possibly go from an idea for a chair to building a model for a chair, and then ultimately scaling up that scale model to a full-size chair that is human-sized and human scale that you're going to be sitting in, built out of cardboard. And we do that with the idea of an isometric projection drawing. And you're ultimately wondering, what is an isometric projection? Well, I've set this thing up today so that I've got the bird's eye camera sitting right here so that I can show you guys pretty clearly an isometric projection drawing. I'm going to demonstrate it for you. I'm going to walk you through the process, and then I want you guys to be able to draw an isometric projection drawing. This is the first phase of trying to come up with your own design for a chair. And so let us begin, shall we? Yes, let's. Okay, so I'm changing cameras to my bird's eye camera view, and I've got this kind of started in pencil because I didn't know whether I would be able to do this freehand for you guys or not. So I'm going to try going over some of my pencil drawings in ink for you guys so that you can see it a little bit better. So I'm going to try this, and if pen isn't good enough, I'm going to try to do this in a Sharpie. I don't know if you guys can read that or not. Isometric projection. Isometric projection is an idea that you can take the three views of something that would be, if you're looking at a solid object, you want to be able to look at a top view of that object as if you were the bird's eye camera and looking straight down on top of a thing. So we're going to label this top view up here. So that's going to be the top view in an isometric projection. We also want to see a front view of the object. So let's label front view, and the front view is going to be drawn down here. And the top view and the front view are supposed to be drawn in an isometric projection so that everything lines up with each other, so that everything is drawn the same size, in the same scale. And so all of these lines kind of can be translated. You could draw straight lines down from one drawing to the next drawing. And then by the same token, you can take this and translate this over to the side view over here, side view. And we're going to do a side view too. Once we do a top view and a front view and a side view, we are then going to try to combine all of the information in all three views of the drawing into the isometric view of the drawing, which is a three-dimensional projection of what the object would look like. So this over here is the isometric view of your object. And so it's an old-fashioned drafting approach to being able to conceptualize the design of an object, a product or an object. I learned this technique in a hands-on drafting class in high school in the 1970s. And I think it's a really valuable way of figuring this stuff out, because you can actually then do it yourself. You can synthesize and understand an object by looking at the different sides of the object and synthesize it into the entire object. Let's start with the side view, because oftentimes the side view is one of the views that carries a lot of the information about what the particular object is like, and yet the side view is very easy to understand because we're looking at something from just one side. So I'm going to look at this object and I'm going to draw the arm of this object. This is going to be another version of my chair that I designed and built last year. So that's the actual arm of the chair, and concealed from view because I can't see it, so I have to kind of imagine that it is there. I'm going to be looking at the seat of my object, which is another box. And you're just going to have to take my word for it. That's going to be the seat. And then this is going to be the back. The seat back goes like this. And so there's going to be a seat back, and then the seat that I actually sit on, and then the arm sides of my object. I'm going to come over here to the front view then and try to look at that again from the same way. And I'm looking up at, I get a little bit focused in on my drawing so that I'm not looking at the screen to see how well you guys can see this. I might have to just pull my bar down to try to zoom in on this just a little bit better so that you guys can see what I'm doing. I hope that we can. Come on, camera. Can you focus on this, or are you just going to be unfocused about this stuff? Because I might not be able to do it that much before I am unable to actually get the camera to focus on this. Okay, try it again. The front view of this object. So if I'm sitting right in front of the object, looking straight at the front of my chair, it's going to look like this. I'm actually going to try to design arms that flare out just a little bit so that they're going to be a little bit wider on the top, perhaps a little bit narrower at the bottom when seen from the front. And oh, look, here's another arm, and it's going to do something similar like that. And the seat gets sandwiched between the two arms, and it sits right here. And hopefully this seat height will translate right over to this view over here. And the bottom of this seat is fairly close, if not perfect, to the bottom of this seat over here. And the tops of the arms translate to the tops of the arms over here. When I look at the seat back, I'm going to go a little bit higher with this seat back. I'm going to make this a little bit prouder, a little bit bigger, taller chair. And so hopefully this seat back also translates over to the top of this seat back over here. This gives me a front view and a side view to work with. Now, usually an artist, someone who really has good three-dimensional spatial relationships in their brain could maybe combine these two views to create the isometric view. But some of us are more engineers, or some of us just need a little bit more information. And so we're going to look at the top view of this thing, the bird's eye view. Now, the bird's eye view for this one is going to be a little bit problematic, because from my side view, I can see that the angle of my seat back is indeed at an angle. It's not straight up and down. And the angle of my arms of the chair, and really the sides of the seat back and seat, are also at angles. They're at angles like this. They are not straight up and down. So this is going to be a little bit more complex view of something. So let's try it. What can I see from the top? From the top of this chair, if I'm looking at the bird's eye view from the top of this chair, I can see the top of the seat back over here. And I drew this one first. I probably should have drawn it last, because I need to change this drawing a little bit as I go here. Now, this seat back is sitting at an angle. And so I'm going to be able to look straight down on this seat back and also see a portion of the front surface of the seat back. And that is going to kind of present itself a little bit like this to the viewer who is looking straight down on the chair. So as that moves away from me in space, I'm going to see something like this. So this little trapezoid right here is this front surface of the seat back here. It's also this front surface of the seat back that I can see in the front view. That's what this is right here. Let's look at the seat next, because the seat attaches to the seat back right here. So this is my seat in the side view. This is my seat right here in the front view. And this is my seat as seen from the top. My seat as seen from the top is going to do this. And so it's going to actually be a square or a rectangle, because that's the first time that I can actually view the surface of the seat from any kind of vantage point where I can see what that surface looks like. Now let's go to the arms of the chair. The arms of the chair are these kind of great big shapes seen in the side view, and these very slender shapes seen on the front view of the chair. Those are going to be the arms of my chair. When seen from the top, all I can see is the top surface of the arm. And I push my arm out just a little bit further than the front of the seat. It's a little detail that I'm kind of fond of. And, so I could do that. I should probably draw in this little detail too. This is going to drive you guys crazy. But these arms of the chair are actually coming in, like we said, at an angle. They're coming in at a slight angle like this, 5, 10 degrees, something like that. And so we're actually going to be able to see just a little bit of the side of these arms from the top view right there. And so I'm going to indicate it like that. So that's the top view of my chair, because it's got so many angles in it. Okay, so we've got a side view, a front view, and a top view for our isometric projection. The projection takes all of the different views of the isometric view and splits them into the individual views, so that you can understand it just a little bit more simply from just the single, front perspective, front view, side view, and top view. Now, the way that we combine all of these into a three-dimensional drawing, well, that's the tricky part. Usually we would use, if we were going to try to do this with a cube, let's just say with a cube. With a cube, you have a front view, a top view, a front view, and a side view for the cube. And they're all the same. They're all squares, just like this. They're all the same. But your isometric projection to combine all of these views is something where we like to turn it on an angle on its edge, so that we can see the edge. and then have the side view run away from us like this into the distance, and the front view run away from us like this at a distance, and then all of the sides or edges of the cube are all parallel to each other. So that means this side of the cube from the front view goes up like this, and this edge of the cube is parallel to the bottom down here. This is a bottom edge going this way, and so this one has to be parallel to it going this way. This is going to be a back edge of the cube, and it has to be parallel to this edge. And finally, we're going to finish off the top view. Again, all of these are going to be parallel to each other. And so that gives us a three-dimensional isometric projection of the cube based on these three views of the cube. So when we go over and look at the chair, this gets a little bit more complicated. I tried to do this again by kind of running a vertical line down the center of my drawing, where the edge of the arm is going to be, except I had to already erase it a little bit because this is an angle. This isn't a nice plumb vertical line here. This is an angle. So this isn't going to be quite a plumb vertical line. It kind of comes back just a little bit. And so I'm just going to start filling in the dots here. You have to know that when you're drawing this thing, and if you're going to draw it freehand, that it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to help you visualize your project so much better. So this kind of fades just a little bit towards the right as an angle, but this bottom edge is going to be parallel to the top edge here because this is a flat parallel plane, and so is the bottom one. This is going to be an angle again because this is going to be more of a trapezoid. This side of the trapezoid is going to be shorter than this side. This side is going to be a longer piece of this trapezoid for my particular project. My seat is kind of based on a trapezoid too. So my seat is going to come up and out at an angle like that. But this surface of the seat is going to be parallel to the bottom of the seat. And this goes back at how did we draw these when I was in college? I think about a 30-degree angle. We always kind of tried to use 30-degree angles when we were drawing our angles that are moving away from the viewer. So 30-degree angle back, 30-degree angle down, and they're parallel to each other. Looking at the other arm of the chair, this is kind of coming back at my special angle, which I'm not really quite sure what it is yet, but I'm gonna kind of throw it in there. This edge is going to be parallel to this edge, which is also parallel to all these other edges. So that's at a basic 30-degree angle. And this one is going to kind of come back in space and be parallel to these edges over here. This line should carry straight through. And if I went dot, 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 these two should line up with each other so that they're on the same edge. And then this far edge of this arm of the chair is parallel also to this. And then it should pick up on this edge back here, the angle, and this edge, and line up, dot, 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 all the way over to here. So we might even see a piece of that back there. Finally, we've got the seat back, and the seat back, oh my gosh. Now this is kind of understood. I'm going to go ahead and do the dot, dot, dot thing, dot, 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 so that we can see the forms that we can't see otherwise. I'm going to run this down here. This is a great big, long, what did I call this? I can't remember. It's a simple geometric form, and I can't remember what it is. Anyway, so I'm going to run this edge down here. Trapezoid. It's a trapezoid. So this is just another trapezoid. And I'm going to run that down here, and then this edge goes back here, and this edge goes back here, so that you can kind of start to see and understand how that box, the three-dimensional chair back, goes all the way down to the floor and hits the floor like this right down here. It's concealed behind all of these other forms, and so we can, think about it if we need to in terms of completing the form using dotted lines. And you can do that for all of these forms if you want to. You can complete all the forms if you need to using, I'm sorry, that's not the way that went. This actually goes down like this. There we go. So you can see that, it's easy to get confused, and it's kind of nice to do this in pencil so that you can work all of these things out in pencil, because sometimes you have to erase things and start over again. And somehow I didn't get this line parallel with this line to be quite parallel with this line. And I would love to get all of those things parallel with each other. So sometimes you can kind of see that there are inconsistencies and that you have to go back and kind of work out some things to try to move lines so that things really do line up with each other, and so that you can get good alignment. Let's see, this is going to be at an angle, this is going to be at an angle, and this is going to be at an angle, so that you can start to see and understand the object three-dimensionally. The whole point of all of this, the whole idea of the isometric projection, is to be able to really see and conceive of your object in 3 dimensions, so that we can start to actually assign dimensions to this thing. Let's see, my arms are going to be 6 inches wide. I'm sorry for those of you who use the metric system, but right now I'm just going to use the English system. You just double everything if you're using metric. So we're talking at least 12 to 15 centimeters wide. Okay, but we need to start seeing what these dimensions are. This is going to be about 30 inches deep. The width of the back of this chair is probably going to be about 36 or so inches across. And so we have to start understanding and knowing what these measurements are going to be, because when you build this thing, you have to actually make real 3-dimensional box objects in space and try to get them to all line up with each other. And they're not going to be perfect. And sometimes we're going to be off. And sometimes we're going to be off by an inch or more, and we're just going to have to fake it and trim things and shim things and try to make things work. But this is one way to try from a beginning planning state to be able to understand your chair and to be able to come up with hopefully the measurements for this thing. We need to know how deep this chair is going to be. So if this is 30 inches deep, and this is a trapezoid, and this leg of the trapezoid is shorter, how much shorter is this going to be? Is this going to be 24 to 26 inches deep? I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to say 24 inches deep, but we'll have to check on that. What is the height of this chair? And we've got the height, but more importantly, what is the length of this surface right here? Because this is an angle for this seat box in the back. Well, this is 30 and this is more. I'm thinking that this is going to be at least 40 to maybe 42 inches high. So this dimension right here, from here down to here, might be something about 42. And we're going to have to kind of make some decisions and figure that out in the design process. What is this length right here? Well, we know that our seat height wants to be 17 inches. So the height of our seat, the vertical seat height, is going to be 17 inches. The height of this trapezoid on these 2 legs, because they're on an angle, is going to be more than 17 inches. This is going to be at least 17 and a half to 18 inches, I think, is going to be this dimension from here to here. I'm just going to throw an 18 in there from now. What is this length over here? I can't remember. I've got the chair sitting exactly next to me right now. It looks like it's about 2 feet or 26 inches off the deck. So I'm just going to say that this is probably 26 inches from here to here. And it's going to be a little bit more on this length. Anyway, you get the idea. every single one of these is going to wind up in reality, going to be expressed as a measurement. It's going to have a real measurement in real space and time. And so doing the isometric projection is the first way that we have to try to put some kind of numbers that get you in the ballpark, that get you somewhat close to being able to design a three-dimensional object from scratch. One of the things that I recommend about doing this is to actually copy your favorite chair. If you have a chair and you have access to it, I'd love it if you could copy your chair. What you're going to need is a tape measure so that you can draw this chair as an isometric projection, so that you can draw a top view, a front view, and a side view, and have all of these views relatively the same size so that they translate and the proportions transfer to each other in these three views of the isometric projection, so that then we can combine all three views into the isometric view of the object. But if you have a real chair, you can take a tape measure and make all of these measurements and find out what is the thickness of these surfaces, what is the size of this seat, measuring it by width and depth for the seat. I'm assuming that these seats for humans, for people with a butt that's my size, is going to be anywhere from a 1.5 to 2 feet. That is 18 inches to 24 inches. So I'm going to say roughly, 24 is a huge chair. I'm going to say 22 inches, 22 inches wide, probably by 22 inches deep, just to be safe. And of course, our seat height is 17 inches because that's like a sacred number. I really love the proportion of 17 inches of seat height. I'm checking my clock here. It's 9:33. I'm a half hour into my presentation. Okay, so this is the concept of isometric projection. I'm going to have to write up another assignment in coursework and post it in coursework. And it's probably going to have like two parts to it, 2 parts to the next assignment. What I'm going to want you guys to do is to select, some kind of a chair that exists out there in the world that you're going to turn into a cardboard chair. Oh God, unless you really, really, really like the cross tab, the cross slot or the tab in slot kind of versions of the chair that I covered on Monday, and you really want to make one of those, then fine, you can make one of those. And you can even use one of those that are available using a Google image search to kind of create that kind of a cross slot or tab and slot kind of a chair. But if you'd like to do something that is a modular chair based on just a bunch of box forms that get stuck together, for my mind, this is almost an easier way to go, because then all I have to do is concentrate on building the seat first and then building the seat back that matches the contours of the seat, and then building the arms that kind of go onto and match the contours and made up with the sides of the seat and the back like that. So if we do this in a really nice methodical way, I would build the seat first. Build the seat first at whatever crazy angles it's going to wind up being, and then learn from that so that you can transfer some of those measurements into the seat back, and then extend your seat back up, and then build your seat back as another box. And then you're just going to combine your seat to your seat back, and that will give you the basic chair form. And if that's as far as you get, then that's as far as you get, and you have an occasional chair, you have an office chair, you have a task chair that does not have arms on it. If you can continue to build 2 arm boxes, modules, and attach them to the sides of the seat and the sides of the back, then they will act as a reinforcement tool to reinforce and hold together the whole chair a whole lot better. And so they're actually structural elements as well as something to support your arm for this design project. And so I'm sorry to keep pushing this modular chair concept at you, but it's what I found works the best and gave me the most satisfying outcome from my particular design thing. So anyway, that's an idea. But you can choose anything. If you want to do cross slot or some of the other folded box designs that don't require glue and are a little bit more open, you can do that too. But I want you guys to do the isometric projection drawing for whatever kind of chair you're going to make. So go out and do some research and find a chair that you like, and either download a copy of that and submit that for the project so that I can see what it is, or go home to the favorite chair that's already sitting in your living room and photograph yourself in that chair. Photograph the chair so that I can see what that chair looks like. And you're going to want to photograph that chair, maybe even from all sides, so that you get a top view and a front view and a side view of that chair, so that you can redraw those views in an isometric projection, so that you can then get some really good drawings that you can then, and measurements, so that you can start to put some numbers in to all of these different dimensions, so that we see what these measurements are: the height, the depth, the width, the height, for all of these different things, because we're going to need that for plugging in the numbers to actually build these boxes and build these forms in cardboard next week. So what I'm going to do is put this together as an assignment in coursework. And the two things that I want you to do over the next several days, probably through the weekend, is to be finding a chair design that you like and downloading it or photographing it if it's at home, so that I have a picture of something that's out there in the world that you are basing your chair design on. That's thing one. Thing two is to then draw this up as an isometric projection on one piece of paper like this. Use a pencil, get a great big eraser, because you're going to be changing your mind an awful lot. And when you're drawing with a pencil and an eraser, I want you to not press hard, press really softly, because you're going to be changing your mind. You're going to be erasing lines, and you're going to be moving things around as you're trying to get these proportions to line up and agree with each other. You're going to make a crap ton of mistakes, and I want you to know that in advance, so that you're pressing lightly when you're drawing your drawing, so that you can erase, and move lines when you need to. And then when you get done with it, maybe go over the whole thing in pen, so that we can really see this with some definitive mark making on it. It would be handy if you could fill in some of these dimensions, some of these measurements, because that gives you a lot more information. Otherwise, we're going to have to be extrapolating and trying to calculate what some of these measurements are going to be. And while we can be close, and while we can get you in the ballpark for measurements, it's really hard to do it if you haven't been able to actually measure the real object. But from a photograph, and if I know that the seat height is 17 inches, I can pretty much guesstimate what some of these other heights are going to be based on 17 inches. If this is 17 inches and this is like 2/3 of what this is, or actually this is 3/4 of what this height is drawn right here, then I could just do a quick calculation. 17 excuse me, 17 is to 100 what X is to, I don't know. I think there's a proportional, a simple proportional thing that I can come up with to try to figure out, if this is, 17 is to 25 inches as X is to 100, it would give me a ratio, and then I could figure out how many inches this is. Actually, I said, I'll work out the math and I'll let you guys know. I've got to try to stay one step ahead of you guys in this process. But anyway, we can use proportions and we can say, well, this 17 inches right here looks like it's 3/4 of this length right here. So if 17, if 17 is 3/4 of a thing, we can plug in those numbers to actually calculate that this is going to be our 24 or 26-inch height over here. And we can do the same thing with the seat back. If this is 17 inches and this looks like it's only 1/3 of the total distance up here, maybe a little bit more than 1/3, maybe it's 40%, I can plug that in. And if 17 is 40% of X, I can figure out that, okay, well, let's see, twice 17 is going to be 34. If I'm still 10% shy, it's probably going to be 40 to 42 inches is going to be my seat back height. We can use math, very simple math, to figure out pretty closely what all of these dimensions are going to be, even if you don't have an actual chair to measure it with. Yes, there's going to be some math involved in this project. And yes, we're going to get to do it, probably together if you can't figure it out by yourself, but I'm here to help. My name is James. You can also, scream out, hey, you, if you need help and you can't remember my name, but I'm from the government and I'm here to help, and I will help you guys get through this. So this is the next big thing, is to try to find or come up with a chair shape that you want to build. And then we want to go through this isometric projection planning process to actually understand this thing from the side view, from the front view, from the top view, and then be able to combine these three views into the isometric view so that we can see how this stuff all goes together. And it's an important part of the planning process to see if, oh, do I really actually like this shape? And if not, what kinds of little tweaks can I make to the process to like this shape better? Do I make the back taller? Do I make it shorter? Do I, make the arms a different length? Do I make the arms a different height? This is the part of the process where we figure that stuff all out, because you don't want to be making those changes 3 steps down the line when you're working with real cardboard and cutting it with real knife and gluing it together with real glue. At that point, you want to have a plan that's all figured out. And all you're doing at that point is following the plan. And believe me, we will still be making minor changes and tweaks, even in the construction process. But this is the place where you want to do 95% of your figuring and 95% of creating your measurements for the project that lies ahead for us. Okay, I'm going to come back to you guys now. That was a really long, terrible presentation. And so I'm going to get this out of the way so that you guys can see my lovely face, and I'll take any questions that you guys might have for me. So, are there any questions about this horrible thing that you have found yourself part of today? I'm looking at my studio audience here, the lovely and talented Kelsey, who's back there in the studio, who is demurring right now. She has no questions. She's sitting on her hands. She's bobbing her foot up and down because she's like so nervous that I'm talking all about her. How about you guys? You people who are hiding out there in internet land, do you have any crazy questions for the mad scientist, artist, designer that is your teacher about this little project right here? Because this little project right here is where we're headed. Let's just see a show of hands, and by a show of hands, I mean if you guys can turn on your participants list. There's a set of reactions. There's a reactions button that you can use, so you can give me like a thumbs up or something as a reaction. I'd just like to see the number of you folks who feel confident in your drawing skill. Those of you who took art classes in high school, who've done enough rendering of enough objects to feel like you could draw out this thing as an isometric projection. You can draw simple views of side, front, and top view. And then this is the more difficult one for most people, the three-dimensional isometric view. Any of you guys have any drawing skills? If you do, give me a thumbs up. Click on thumbs up in the reactions menu to let me know if you can actually draw. And don't feel bad if you can't, because, not everybody is supposed to be an art major who takes this class. Okay, I just got 100% of people showing me the thumbs up here. So most of you feel fairly confident in being able to do something approaching this, which is good. So we're going to use this recording as our basis for this part of the project. I will go ahead and write up the assignment and stick it in the coursework so that you guys can find it. And so this assignment is going to have two features to it. Research and find a chair that you like, that you want to copy and turn into a cardboard chair concept. And then the second one is the actual isometric projection drawing of trying to break it down into the three views, top, front, and side view, and then recombine it back together into the isometric view so that you have a good understanding three-dimensionally of how all of the different sides of the chair relate to each other, and possibly start plugging in some values for the actual dimensions of the chair. This ain't easy. This is going to probably take us several days to a week to complete. And so we'll give you that much time to work on it and see how it's going, on Friday, and then checking in again on Monday next week and see how things are going. In the meanwhile, I'm going to keep one eye on COVID threat levels in the county to see when and how we can come into Eden Hall and actually build these chairs using the equipment that we have here. And I have to go to the furniture store and start getting cardboard. So I'm going to take my cargo trailer over there and load up about 1,000 pounds of cardboard and haul it back over here to Eden Hall. And when we can actually meet as a class, one thing we're going to have to do is just haul cardboard up to Eden Hall and bring it on in here, because I'm not going to haul 1,000 pounds of cardboard all by myself up the trail from the parking lot to the building. So I'm going to need some hands on deck for that kind of help. So I just want to let you know in the future that this project is going to get physical, and that we're going to need to help each other, and you're all going to need to wear a mask, and we're going to want you to wear masks when and if you're able to work in Eden Hall together. If we're not able to work together face-to-face on this project, I'm going to deliver cardboard to all of you in student housing or around the Coos Bay area, and you're going to get to build this cardboard chair at home using your own tools at home, or whatever you can procure from Walmart or whatever it takes. One way or another, we're going to get this project done, and it's going to be fun. And in the fullness of time, you're going to have, and I'm reaching out here to my cardboard chair that's right over here in the shadows. You're going to have yourself a cardboard chair that you can sit in and can be part of your funky, youthful apartment kind of dwelling furniture, but you'll have something that you can actually sit in and use that will support you and be a really kind of a fun, funky design project that will stay with you for the next several years of your college and young adult experience. It can be fun, I promise you. Okay, on that happy note, I'm going to probably say goodbye for now. So any last questions as I'm reaching for the mouse and I'm going to hit the end button? Any last questions for you guys? I already lost somebody, so no questions. All right, I love you guys. I'll see you on Friday. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.